Welcome to the Undercovers podcast. I'm Ben along with Connor and Paul, and this is the first time we've had the entire crew pretty much all in one place in quite some
I know.
time. I know we
Feels
had
good.
a show a couple of weeks ago, and then last week it was Labor Day, so everyone was kind of doing their own thing. So we did miss previewing the Bills-Ravens game, but man, what a wild game. The Bills, I believe, at one point had a 0.9%
Yeah.
chance
Mhm.
to win.
Yep.
They also became the first team, I believe, in NFL history to come back from 15 points or more with under 4
They
minutes
were.
left in a game and win in
Mhm.
regulation.
Indeed.
Teams with a 15 uh, point lead with that time amount left since the year 2000 were 23, 12, and 3. So
Jeez.
out of like 23 and 15 games prior, there's only 3 teams that have ever had such a comeback. So those numbers are completely absurd. There was
Mhm.
another stat that I saw last night too. It was something about teams. I think it was teams that scored more than 40 points and had over 200 rushing yards. Also, were undefeated. I
Oh, yeah.
don't remember the exact numbers on that, but it was somewhere maybe like 700 something games
Yeah, it
or
was 700 to 0, and it's 700 to 1.
Wait, the teams with 40 plus points and 235
Yeah.
plus rushing yards in a game.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that is they were 277-0, including the
Yeah, that's
playoffs,
what
Oh,
it was.
and are now
277. So,
277-1.
I mean, a little bit of a variance between
A
700. I
little bit
couldn't
of a
remember.
stretch.
Yeah, just a little
Yeah,
bit.
but I mean, still 277 games and what 2,300 games. Like
Mhm.
those were crazy numbers. Like
Yep.
I remember, I still had the game on, but to be honest with you, like I was doing other things, kind of watching it on the side. Just like I did not expect to win that game, to be completely honest with you. Even though whenever you have Josh Allen on your team, you always
Yeah.
have a chance. It's just I didn't think they would have had enough time, nor the defense could actually make the stops based on how the game was originally going. So I was just like, I'll have it on just
Yeah.
for the heck of it. And then they scored, and I was like, okay, this
Alright.
is interesting. And then
Mhm.
next thing I know, I turned around and I missed like the play leading up to it, but I saw the ball was on the ground. I was like, "Oh my goodness." And then I saw the Bills jump on it. I was like, "Is this
Oh my
really going to
God!
happen?"
Is it
And
about
then
that?
I completely shifted all my focus to the game after that.
Mhm.
And then Jackson Hawes, who a lot of people didn't want
Yeah, looking right
had
at you.
had a
Not you, Ben.
huge catch in that fourth quarter, even though I was told he's only good for blocking.
Yeah.
Josh Allen also, I believe he became the first quarterback to ever have 250 passing yards and
Yeah.
2 rushing touchdowns
Mhm.
in a single quarter.
Yep.
Like, I believe he had, out of that quarter alone, it was something like a better statistical output than like 21 quarterbacks or something
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was absolute, like that game was, it wasn't just drunk, it was like on straight up meth. Like that game was
Yeah.
just absurd. Like
Mhm.
everything that happened throughout the game, like it felt like, I mean, it definitely took some years off my life, I feel like, but
Oh,
it
good.
felt like
Mhm.
multiple different games within a game.
Oh
Like
yeah.
first the Bills opened up, they had the lead, and you're like, okay, offense looks good, and then offense kind of sputtered a little bit, and then right before halftime, Josh made a couple ridiculous throws, and I wasn't sure if they had any time left
Mhm.
to get that field goal off. And I saw Lamar running to the locker room. The Ravens were just trying to like get out of there. And then the ref was like, hold on,
Yeah.
Baltimore. Like that
That-
Yeah,
itself
that
was
was funny.
some memes. And we still couldn't stop Derrick Henry in the second half. But shout out to Matt Prater.
Oh yeah.
Guy is in Buffalo for like something like under 72 hours and immediately has one of the clutchest kicks, probably, I mean, at least in regular season history,
Mhm.
given the absurdity of the game. And also, that was
Exactly.
the Bills' first comeback by 15 or more points in the fourth quarter since 1967.
Yeah.
So they've
Wow.
never trailed a game by 15 or more points in the fourth quarter and won since before the 70s. So that really should put things in perspective. Like, not even Jim Kelly had that type of comeback. Now, that might be regular season because I'm not sure how many they're trailing by in the fourth quarter against the Oilers in that playoff game. But regardless, that game was completely drunk. We'll talk more about it now, but I feel like now we got to get into our quick takes.
We've got good ones.
Yeah, mine is the winners and losers, and I'll completely leave the Bills out of it, but definitely a big loser would be the rest of the AFC East because they started 0-3. Now, to give some credit where credit's due, Justin Fields actually kind of impressed me, and I've never been the biggest Justin Fields believer. But he did pretty well. The Steelers defense looked like Swiss cheese. So, I mean, you could throw that unit into the losers as well. The Steelers defense, which I think it's the most expensive defense in the NFL.
It is.
Got absolutely shellacked. But on the winning side, definitely have to give a shout out to Aaron Rodgers because he looked like Aaron Rodgers of old, even though he absolutely cannot move at all in the pocket. That guy can still sling it. So they better just like pray that like their offensive line holds up because there was times because I was watching that game a lot just because I was interested in seeing how Rodgers did. So that was a game I was pretty much focusing on in the 1 p.m. time slot. And there were times the O-line didn't hold up, but other times he got rid of the ball quickly. The run game is something I think that the Steelers want to get going more too.
Oh, they got to address that like with another player in a trade. Like,
well, we'll
tomorrow.
See. Caleb Johnson, I think they're going to bring him along slowly. So we'll see.
As they always do.
We'll see what Caleb Johnson brings. But other winners, Emeka Egbuka, wow, what a rookie performance.
Everybody told me that I was crazy for thinking the Bucs made a mistake for drafting Emeka Egbuka. How do you feel now?
Daniel Jones is obviously a winner, surprisingly.
What universe is this?
Right. The Dolphins and Giants just by de facto have to be I already consider the Dolphins losers in my AFC East group, but I have to throw them in there again just because of how bad of a performance that was. The Giants, they didn't score a single touchdown. I think they had the lowest point total, and I would say the Chargers are a winner, and I would have to say the Bengals are a loser. Like, yes, they won, but they needed the Browns to miss a field goal, an extra point, possibly 2 field goals with it. Was it 2 field goals or 1 field goal?
I think 2. I think this is the point where the Browns need to start looking for a new kicker, like right now.
Right.
Because that guy did not have a good night or a good day.
Played Cincinnati tough, and Cincinnati always starts season slow under Zach Taylor. So, I mean, there is something to say that at least they didn't lose. But for a team that is, in their opinion, I feel like this isn't really consensus around people who talk about the NFL, but they have championship aspirations. I think if they make the playoffs, that'd be a good jump after missing it the last couple of seasons. But for a team that believes they have championship aspirations, I think the fact that they almost lost to the Browns is kind of a bit of a red flag to me. Oh, another loser, the Houston Texans. They looked like crap piss yesterday, and
that's understating it.
It's only week 1. Chargers winner, Chiefs a loser. Just by default. And Jerry Jones is also the biggest loser of week 1 after gifting
loser of the year.
Yeah, after gifting Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. But
now
I'm interested to hearing your quick take, Connor.
Oh, this is a good one. So there's been a lot of week 1 overreactions, which I guess it's kind of fair, but week 1 is always the weird week in the NFL. Like, just to give you a little bit of context for people that might not have been watching the NFL for very long, a couple of years back, the Jacksonville Jaguars won their week 1 game and then proceeded to lose their next 14 games in a row, finishing 1-15, getting in that number 1 draft pick. That was 2020 because that was the year they were able to draft Trevor Lawrence. And yeah, week 1 is very strange. That was also the same week where a few years back we saw Aaron Rodgers, when he was still with the Packers, get bodied by the Saints. and still led the Packers all the way to the NFC Championship game. Pretty sure that was also 2020. But if we're going to talk about overreactions, there are a few that I've seen going around right now. I think I'm going to keep the ones related to the Ravens and Bills out of this because we'll have more to talk about that game later. But there's a lot of overreactions there right now. I think there's an overreaction that's probably very on the nose. I'm going to start with that. There's one that's on the nose, and it's that the Dolphins are probably going to be a top 5 bottom team in the league this year. Like, absolutely bottom of the barrel. I actually think that this team should – I think potentially you will see Mike McDaniel fired before the end of the season if it continues trending in this fashion. Like, they are bad. They played like garbage against Daniel Jones. How do you do that? How do you let Daniel Jones have a career best game against you? By the way, to add a little more salt to the wound, Daniel Jones has won a playoff game in his career, unlike Tua Tagovailoa, who you just extended for 4 years. So I think the overreaction that the Dolphins are going to be a bottom 5 team is pretty sound. Well, there's a few others as well. I think the people saying that the Jets are going to be like a top team is a bit of an overreaction. I think they looked really, really good because I watched the whole game. But one thing to remember is their entire game plan on the ground was run away from TJ Watt, because whenever they didn't, TJ Watt was in that backfield and annihilated either Justin Fields or Breece Hall or Braylon Allen, because they had him in on a good few carries. So I think people are overhyping the Jets a little bit. I think the reactions to the Steelers outside of the Yinzer Steelers got a Super Bowl are all very valid. I think they're going to be probably about how they always are, 9-8, going to the 9-8 Super Bowl. But in terms of other overreactions, I got a good local one for you. Jags winning the AFC South is happening. Bookmark it right now. I know that they played the Carolina Panthers, who only put up 10 and did not look very good overall. But I think that the Jags are still going to make some noise considering their schedule and how good they looked. And considering that the Texans also looked like garbage against the Rams.
Yeah.
And the only team that looked really good was the Colts. I think the Jags will win the AFC South. That I don't think is a very big overreaction. But like I said, I'm keeping the Bills-Ravens ones out of it right now. I think if you want a real overreaction, definitely is going to be Chargers potentially winning the AFC West, like for real. And I don't see it happening. I think this is just I think the Chiefs just had the downgrade of playing in Brazil and, having to start off like that. Their schedule as a whole looks bad. Like, they're playing the Eagles this coming week. I'm pretty sure they've got to go again and play the Lions in that time frame, and they got to play the Commanders in the same time frame. There's a good potential.
They have the Eagles week too.
Oh, yeah, that'll be a bad game for the Chiefs because the Eagles are definitely going to be looking to rebound from that close game to Dallas, even though they won. But one thing that I will say before we move on to the Bills stuff, just to kind of get a little bit more context onto Ben's take about the Bengals and the Browns, the reason why I don't really put much of an emphasis on either of those two teams right now is because AFC North football is just stupid. Like, it is a different breed of football altogether. It always has been, considering that back in the day, you had Hines Ward on one side and Ed Reed on the other. Like, this is a very, very hard-nosed division to play football in. All of these games are just weird, and all of them are just super competitive when they shouldn't be. So I think we need to wait until this week when the Jags take on the Bengals and when the Browns play. I don't even know who the Browns play this week. I don't
know either.
But either way, they're not playing anybody. Oh, never mind. They're playing Baltimore. So that's another AFC North football thing. So you really can't judge Cleveland until week 3, probably. So that's what I was going to say about the Bengals. I think let's not rate them or the Browns just yet. AFC North football is just brutal. They were playing each other hard all game, and for the people the people watching that play fantasy like myself, had to be annoying watching that because especially if you own Jamar Chase like I do, then you got annoyed that they barely targeted him at all. He put up 26 yards. But then again, if you're also like me, you own Josh Allen. And Josh Allen saved people's fantasy matchups. To be fair, I have Josh Allen and James Cook on the same team. So I wound up going from a less than 1% chance of winning to a 99.9% chance of winning tonight. That is my segue into our Bills topics. Let's hear what we've got to start with, because we've got some good ones, because that game felt like an acid trip. There was an old example of a game that kind of had this same flavor when the Chargers played the Pittsburgh Steelers back in 2018. It wasn't this level of crazy because it took the Chargers a whole half to come back. Meanwhile, the Bills came back in an entire 5 minutes.
Literally.
But the game was the exact same, despite being kind of similar. Steelers were up 23-7 at the half, and the Chargers came right back and won 33-30 back in 2018. This one, though, Bills were down 40-25. That usually means game over, goodbye, good night. But in an old quote, remember who we have. And that did it right there. I don't think I've seen a player gone that nuclear in my life. And I've been watching football since 2007. I've seen some of Tom Brady's best performances. I've seen Aaron Rodgers pull off stupid Hail Marys back in the day. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite as electric as what Josh Allen did in 5 minutes last night.
Yeah, let's get into some Bills Ravens topics, because like you said, this game was crazy from it took me a good solid 4 hours to process everything last night. I'm still processing slowly of last night's game. Let's get into the biggest week one takeaways that we had, because look, the Bills offense looked great on the opening drive, and then they kind of were non-existent for a while. And then that allowed Lamar Jackson and the Ravens offense to kind of, go down up and down the field, and they looked like the better team. And I'm going to be honest with you, this game, honestly, even though the Bills kept it within 2 scores primarily the entire night, I was fully anticipating the Bills getting blown out by 40-15 or something like that. I was fully expecting an embarrassment on Sunday Night Football. But Ben, what was your biggest week one takeaway
from the Bills game?
Yeah.
I think it has to just be, I already said it, but if you got Josh Allen, you always have a chance. That's obvious. You're never really down and out of it. I agree. I texted my friend, it felt like last year's Ravens game, where the Bills actually were in that game, I think, longer than people remember. If you go back and watch that game, going into halftime, maybe that game was a 2-score game at the half or something like that, but it wasn't that crazy of a game. And then the Bills scored, they got a stop, and it looked like they may actually have taken momentum prior to that awful trick play by Joe Brady, where they did the Wildcat with Curtis Samuel, the end around to Josh Allen. And then after that, it just felt like it was curtains. But other than that, this is going to be kind of a hot take, but I think Matt Prater should be the Bills kicker the rest of the year. After a performance that, boy. I don't know how you could turn back to Tyler Bass. I felt pretty confident with Prater kicking last night. Yeah. And I'm not saying that Bass would have missed that kick, but I'm not sure if he would have been flawless in a game yesterday. Any missed kick would have been the ultimate difference in the ball game. And does anyone have any reservations that Tyler Bass would have missed something in that game, whether it was a kick before half or another type of kick? It just feels like every game Tyler Bass is due to have a big mistake or miss a big kick. So I would say let Prater cook or kick for the rest of the year. That's my hot take. Find
It is
another
hot.
kicker at the end of the year. And plus, for an injury that Bass has for a kicker, I'm not sure if he's going to ever
Yeah.
be the same kicker again. So that's why I would lean to, thank you for everything, Tyler. You didn't cost the Bills in the playoffs last year, really, but the year before he did. But I would give it the kicking duties to Prater.
Well,
I mean,
that
I don't
is certainly something.
necessarily disagree, but I mean, I don't. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we'll see. I think we're gonna get to about week 4. They're probably gonna see how he's doing and stuff like that. Because honestly, after after the final preseason game, I honestly thought Tyler Bass was fine, and he must have re-aggravated at least something either the week during of the week after the final preseason game or something leading up to the Ravens game. But like you said, Ben, I think Matt Prater, just being in the building for like nearly just 3 days. I mean, funny thing is, the players honestly thought he was just a random coach because of just how he looks, and he's like 40 something years old. So it's like all the players thought he was just a coach, just walking around, and then 3 days later, he's kicking one of the most important kicks for the Bills this season.
The oldest player to ever play for the Bills in franchise history, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Matt Prater
I mean,
is something else.
My biggest takeaway in this game, honestly, I just can't stop thinking about just how a team built around Josh Allen is important to the Bills. It's like the Bills' weapons yesterday, even though Keon Coleman had a great game. Dalton Kincaid looked awesome. I think both of those are great takeaways from this opening week. That both question marks from last season heading into this offseason had two players had spectacular games. Keon Coleman maybe one of the more clutch touchdowns that you can see in the week 1 slate.
That's just
Just
Keon.
everything that happened in that game was led by the arm of Josh Allen. And you can just go back to the final drive of that game of last night's game where you're kind of like, okay, the Bills have about a minute and 30 seconds to work with here. And you have to just travel, at least 45 yards to get at least in field goal range. The Bills did that in 4 plays. That was insane. You could have maybe made this drive an 8-play drive, wind the clock down, but Josh Allen pre-snap, recognition made this instantly game over in 4 plays. That's it. I mean, you go back to all these stats. Josh Allen, the Bills had a 1.1% chance to win this football game with 8.5 left in the 4th quarter.
Yep.
That's insane. That's basically everyone in Vegas and almost around the world basically saying, yeah, this game's over. Josh Allen saw fans leave the stadium and says, you know what? This does not look right to me. I'm going to fix it. And he fixed it really great. Just 16 of 21, 251 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns in the 4th quarter, and that's the only quarterback to ever do that. How many times we've heard Josh Allen in the category of the only quarterback to ever do that in NFL history? That's
A
just
lot.
insane. Yeah, just a lot over the last 2-3 seasons.
Like things you literally can't count on one hand because it's just too much, or 2 hands because that's also too much, which is wild.
Literally over 15, 20 different things that Josh Allen just owns because he's the only quarterback to do it.
It's actually kind of funny. I was thinking about it earlier. The fact that I have a Caitlin Clark jersey hanging up right behind me, that's basically who Josh Allen is to this team. It's the equivalent. It's literally like you have your own Caitlin Clark, build around them, and watch them cook. And that's exactly what's happening both here and with the Indiana Fever. Even despite Caitlin's injury before that she got hurt, they were cooking. So it's the same exact type of thing.
Now, while the offense was unbelievable, the defense was an entirely different story,
Mhm.
at least prior to the last 5 minutes of the game. Do you think the Bills' defense is a bigger concern than initially anticipated, or were this performance an anomaly? I'll say yes and no. I think we all had pretty high expectations for this defense with all the investments done in the offseason between signing Joey Bosa, making all those trades, making all those draft picks on the defensive side of the ball. And
It
even
was
without
warranted.
Trey White or Max Hairston, Dorian Strong had an unbelievable game if you look at the
He did.
metrics, but there
He
were
did.
other parts around him, like the D line. The pressure was good. There's just times where they let Lamar get away. Like that one play that keeps popping up is that near sack where they would have had Lamar for like a
Yeah.
15-yard loss on 3rd and long, and he ended up getting a first down after both Rousseau
Mhm.
and Bosa tripped. Again, 1 week. The Steelers also did not have a great week 1 performance by any means, and that's a defense that a lot of people assume to be elite. I don't know if people picked the Bills defense to be elite, but we thought it would be better than what was shown yesterday. But they also played arguably the best offense in the NFL, maybe besides the Bills. So the Ravens defense didn't have a great showing either, and
Mhm.
it was kind of in different phases. They
Oh
were
yeah.
better against the run, where the Bills definitely, I feel like against the pass were better, but there was times they still
Mhm.
gave up some big chunk plays. Benford definitely had one of his worst games, which
Yeah,
I'm
he
not as
started.
concerned
Yeah.
about because he is playing hurt, so it's still better to have a banged up Christian Benford, but a no
Right.
Benford. But I think this Jets game is going to be big because that offense looks pretty dynamic, and if
He
they give
did.
up another 30 points, we might have a 2024 Bengals situation
Mhm.
on our hands where
Yeah.
we're just gonna have to score 40 points a
Yep.
game.
Like that was the
Hey,
whole
I
thing.
mean, we have Josh Allen, so I think we could score 40 points
Well,
a game.
yeah. I mean, it's like, oh
But
well,
do we
we just
win? Do
have
we
to
win
out.
those games? I don't know.
Right.
But
I mean,
I'm sitting here,
look at who you play.
thinking, oh, sorry.
I mean, look at who you play, considering what y'all were saying
Right.
about 40 plus points a game. You're going against the Jets to be determined on whether or not that defense is just really good or if the Steelers just couldn't get the ball going. And then you got the Dolphins week 3. We all saw what happened to them. You got the Saints week 4. Oh my God. You got the Pats. Then on to the Falcons. I mean, this is all of those games are ones where it's like, oh, yeah, Josh Allen will probably put up 40 because they just have either bad defenses or they're just not good in general.
Hmm.
So it's potentially going to look like that exactly. But I think my own takeaway is there a safety on this team? Like the whole time I was watching the game with one of my friends, he was not a Bills fan, not a Ravens fan, and he was watching the game going, "Does Buffalo have a secondary?" And I'm like, "No, at least I didn't see any safeties back there." What were the stats like for the starting safety? I'm sure Cole Bishop was out there, right? Like I looked.
Yeah,
Yeah, Derrick Henry turned him into Josh Norman all over
Oh,
again on that
yeah,
one
he
play.
did.
that's what I thought happened. But man, just safety is a really, really, really big hole in
Mhm.
this team. Now, what I kind of hate is that a lot of people are already getting the idea that the Bills defense might definitely be a little bit bad. But like Ben said, you are literally starting in week 1 against one of the best offenses in the entire NFL, like bar none, full stop. That is hardly a way to judge a defense. Like,
Mhm.
let's give it a few weeks because, like I said, you got the Jets, you got the Dolphins, you got the freaking Saints. I mean, you got some games where you're going to be able to tell if this defense is actually good on
Yeah.
all ends instead of just on the back end. But I still definitely think that safety is a big issue. Bean should be looking around the market right now. I wouldn't say right now, but after a couple of weeks, look around the market for some safeties that some teams might be willing to part ways with if they're just not seeing enough playing time or if they're just being, bad in general. Like I was saying this in another chat regarding the Steelers, but I'm all over the fact that Omar Khan should be on the phone with Chris Greer to get Devon Achane like right now, because I feel like the Dolphins, the worse they get, the more of their players are going to want out, which is why I've got a countdown to Tyreek Hill going back to Kansas City when moment, which probably will happen. Hopefully,
Yep.
hopefully not, but probably will, because Tyreek just looked upset on the sidelines. But back to the point. The whole thing is defense just showed up in one end, didn't show up in the other.
Mhm.
And that's critical. Like, you have to be able to show up on all fronts, especially as it gets down to crunch time. Like, the whole ideology I grew up with in football was pound the run, stop the run. That's an old Steelers euphemism. And Derrick Henry is kind of hard to stop. I get it. Lamar Jackson's very mobile with his legs. I get it. But you still got to put in a little bit more effort. And I feel like they, on the front, they did. They had some pretty good stops in Derrick Henry late, and then that fumble that basically turned the tide of the game, that was it. Like, So another really brief fun fact for both of you and the others watching is that during the course of yesterday, I was only able to watch 2 games all day. Steelers, Jets, and then Ravens, Bills. Only 2 games I was able to watch all day. Both of them were probably the 2 best games of the entire week. So I thought that was
Ooh, we do have some trade news, by the way.
Oh, we do?
Did you see it yet, Connor?
No, what happened?
Surprised you didn't. The Jaguars are sending Tank Bigsby to Philly for a 5th and 6th rounder.
Okay. Okay. So that's
Philly's loading up in their backfield, which is funny. If you told me that last year, a couple months ago, and you were to tell me that the Jags were trading one of their running backs, I think everyone would have assumed it would have been ETN. But I think the way he played yesterday, he's kind of like, wait a second, let me cuck under Liam Cohn. So yeah, that's an interesting trade. I didn't really follow the Jags too closely yesterday.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Tank Bigsby got 5 carries.
Did Bishal Tootin do anything?
No.
What the other running back from Syracuse?
Yeah, I don't think
not Martinez. What's his name?
No, you were right. Tootin.
No, from Syracuse. Tootin is Virginia Tech. They got a Syracuse running back on that team. I'm trying to remember his name.
I think it's because Allen.
Yes, you're right. LaQuint Allen.
Oh, him.
Oh, he didn't really do much either, it looks like.
No, because Tootin had 11 yards on the ground in that win. As for ETN, I don't exactly.
Yeah, ETN, wow, 16 carries, 143 rush yards. Dang.
Yeah,
I know the Panthers aren't expected to be very good, but I would not have expected that. I mean, he did get half of his yards on one play, but still, other than that, I mean, he's still had about 72 on 15, which is 4.8 a carry on the other 15 carries. So I mean, that's some pretty good production. But that's an interesting trade.
Back to the Bills defense. I think last night was to me. I feel like it was a little bit of an anomaly. It's not often that you see the Bills, allow 40+ points in a game. I mean, you go back to last year, they played in the game in the year against the Rams. It's just what happens sometimes, when you face a good team like the Ravens or like a good offense like the Rams last season, where it's just going to be back and forth all game, and you're just going to have to get a defensive stop. But there was a lot of, even though the Bills allowed 40 points and Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson to run all over them, there was a lot of kind of positive stuff that you could still take away from it. Like the opening few drives, the Bills forced the Ravens to go the long way. As they did in multiple games last year, where it wasn't easy for opposing teams to score points against the Bills. Even though it became easy for Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, there was a few drives in the game where the Bills made the Rams offense think deep into their playbook to see how they could beat the Bills defense. And then you go back to the Ravens' final 3 drives. The final 3 drives ended in negative yardage for the Ravens. So there's your positives in a game where it is going to come down to at least a defensive stop, as last night did. The last 3 drives, the Bills said, we're gonna hunker down. We're gonna stop you guys. So our offense that is red hot right now, it can come back and win. And final 3 drives ended in negative yardage, and the Bills get a defensive stop and forced a turnover and gave the offense over a minute to drive the field and kick that game-winning field goal. So while the defense has a ton in all caps, big letters, bolded to work on, they also forced a turnover for the offense, and they stopped the Ravens when it came down to the crunch time. So I think that's important to remember. And that's where I kind of also say week 1 is also an anomaly as well. There's a lot of lies in week 1.
They always say that week 1 is a liar. So
Yes, it is.
Whatever happens, don't take too much away from that. But lastly, on the week 1 game, let's talk about players of the game. I feel like there are a couple layups, and I already did mention one who got a shout out, and I feel like you guys possibly have players in mind. So I'll give a shout out. We just talked about the defense. I'll give a shout out to the one player on defense who actually stood on his head and was playing like prime Aaron Donald. Like Ed Oliver has always gotten comparisons to Aaron Donald, maybe just because of his smaller stature as a defensive tackle, but he looked like prime AD. The way he was blowing up the Ravens O-line, he was really the main contributor to when the Bills actually were able to stop Derrick Henry in the backfield. That sack on Lamar Jackson was just a thing of absolute beauty. So if I had to pick someone, and I don't think they win that game without Ed Oliver, like the defense really wasn't doing anything. So I have to give a shout out to the one player on defense who was just playing with his hair on fire yesterday.
Yeah, Ed Oliver in that game had 6 solo tackles, 1 forced fumble that turned this game upside down, and then allowed the Bills to come back in this game.
He had 2 or 3 tackles for loss, a sack. Like he was phenomenal.
He had a 95 run stop grade, so like he was on fire. And then he ranked, because there is still one more game to be played on Monday. As of right now, he ranked first in total EPA in week 1. So
for defensive EPA, wow.
Yeah,
man basically jumped into the fountain of youth, turned himself into James Harrison, and just went off. I mean, to be honest, I feel like he was the main defensive player of the game that really showed up. But man, he was.
I feel like Connor should go next because
I think I know who Connor's going
because of his jersey and hat.
Yeah, I think that it might be a little obvious who I think the player of the game is. I would, Josh Allen felt like a gimme. I technically kind of have 2 or maybe 1.5 because I do want to give kind of a shout out to somebody that probably nobody's really thought of yet. But yeah, my obvious choice is Keon Coleman. Everybody was giving me so much crap. They were giving you the same crap, man. They were like, "Oh, why'd we draft Keon Coleman? We could have had Xavier Worthy. He was right there. We traded down." And I think finally Keon had the game where people realized, "Oh man, this guy's actually kind of good." So just to kind of give you a little bit more context, I'm sure you guys both know, but anybody that doesn't, 112 yards and a touchdown last night.
I mean, that touchdown was big.
12 yards. Oh, man. Keon.
Career high 8 receptions. I mean, he was pretty efficient too. He was targeted 11 times, and he caught 8 of those 11 targets. Like I'll sign up for that any day of the week. He was top 10 in separation, which, I mean, he did get a decent sized cushion, but the fact of the matter is he was getting opened. He absolutely fried Jair Alexander on that final play where that was Allen Iverson style ankle breaking right there. Like that was
actually, Ben, I thought of you. I thought of you when I thought of this one. Do you remember Keon Coleman's catch? I don't remember when it was in the game, but do you remember where he just leaped up and caught that ball? I don't know if that was the one-handed catch, but he had this one like incredible catch where he just jumped like 15 feet in the air almost.
Yesterday?
Yeah, last night.
Yeah,
don't remember
I do. The one
what
on the sideline. That was
did
crazy.
did that catch not remind you almost exactly of the same catch he made against Clemson when he was at FSU in the undefeated year, when
Yeah.
Jordan Travis threw the ball to the middle of the field. Keon literally jumps 15 feet in the air. Doesn't even moss the defender because he's all the way over him, and grabs the ball, brings it down, and puts the Seminoles in field goal range. That was what it reminded me of when I saw it. I was like, see, that's the Keon I watched at FSU. And that's the Keon that is going to be a superstar wide receiver in the NFL for the Bills. And for, like I always like to tell people that aren't Bills fans or mostly just aren't Bills fans, finally somebody that someone like you outside of Buffalo will actually recognize on the team. Because you got to think about it. The only person people know is Josh Allen. You can ask them, hey, they'll ask you, hey, who's this number 10 guy? Who's Josh Allen's number 1 wide receiver? You have to tell them who Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman are. They go, who? Or you tell them about who Christian Bedford is, and they go, who? So Keon, I think, if he can keep that up, obviously you're not going to get performances like that every week. But if he could put up numbers like that a lot, I think he's going to be very well known in the league.
Yeah,
but
he did. He had 3.7 yards of total separation yesterday. And then Khalil Shakir ranked 15th in total separation with 3.5 yards of separation. So, I mean, even though there wasn't a lot of separation all game, there's some positives here in the Bills room where the separation numbers looked great week 1. They didn't look great all game, but there's still lots of positives moving forward after week 1. Ben, you took my standout player, so I'm going to go to a different route. And I had 2 players because I had Ed Oliver and I had an honorable mention, but I'm going to save my honorable mention in just a quick second, and was going to give my actual player of the game. On a quick pivot, I think I'm going to give my actual player of the game or standout player of the game is to, I'm going to give it to Dalton Kincaid. 4 receptions on 4 targets. He didn't have a drop this game, which is great news, by the way. And he had that opening touchdown on the opening drive, and it was kind of like a contested catch type catch. And it seems like he's really worked this offseason and trying to get open in the middle of the field and really to be an important piece to the Bills offense this season. And I can't wait to see how much more Joe Brady wants to use Dalton Kincaid, because I don't think he got the correct usage in most games last year in the Joe Brady system. Obviously, he was hurt for a lot of those games as well. So if he can stay healthy and he can really show out in the next few weeks, I'm thinking that Dalton Kincaid is going to be a key weapon to the Bills offense moving forward this season. And then my honorable mention, I think not a lot of people are remembering this in how crucial I feel like this moment was in the game. It was tight end Jackson Hawes.
Yeah, I was actually going to give him the shout out too. So
his first catch of his NFL career was 29 yards on a bobble while being tackled to the ground. Now, here's the importance of this catch. The catch was on the second to final drive for the Bills in this game. A drive that started at 1st and 10 from the Ravens 30. Hawes put the Bills at the Ravens 1, and that led to the Josh Allen touchdown to extend the game to at least one more drive. Imagine Jackson Hawes doesn't catch that football. It becomes 2nd and 10 from the Ravens 30.
Yep.
Like, that's a complete shift of
100%.
momentum.
Yep.
And morale is, a little small drop of morale.
And Jackson Hawes has ran out of town after that.
The Bills in the final drive, in that second to final drive, leading into an important defensive stop the next drive that allowed the Bills to seal the game on a field goal. I feel like that's being overlooked. We're talking about the Bills' final drive and the defensive drive before that.
Sure.
But Jackson Hawes had maybe one of the most important catches in that game, and it was a super hard catch to make.
Oh man, yeah, for sure. I was going to shout him out too, but thankfully you beat me to the punch on that one, Paul. Yeah, that was easily one of the best catches all game. To be honest with you, that was incredible.
So let's move on to the Jets game since we are officially on to Jets week. Now the Bills, they'll start their preparation tomorrow. So today, Victory Monday, but we don't go live again until next week. So let's get into it. So we kind of touched upon the Jets game earlier, which I think, again, week one's a liar, but just my first impressions on the Jets are they're kind of opposite of how I expected. I definitely expected a dominant power run game in Justin Fields and Breece Hall to kind of go crazy in Tanner Engstrand's offense, but I also expected the defense to be a little bit better. And yes, the defensive line performed. They shut down the run, but that secondary outside of Sauce Gardner really is food. And I think the Ravens, at least on paper, have one of the better secondaries in the league. So if Josh Allen can cook like he did last week, I think he could have another big performance next week against the Jets defense. You got guys like Brandon Stevenson, Tony Adams, and Andre Sisco back there who just stay away from Sauce Gardner. No reason to even target him next week, which, I mean, you can at times, but Aaron Rodgers found his most success when not targeting Sauce Gardner last week or yesterday. And obviously the difference between Josh and Rodgers is that Josh can actually escape the pressure that the Jets D-line can create between Quinnen Williams, Will McDonald, and
don't you dare tell me you're forgetting him, Ben.
No, I don't. Jermaine Johnson. Sorry, it took me a second.
I was gonna say, come on, don't forget the GOAT.
Florida State guy. Yep, I had a little bit of a hiccup. No, I knew it. I was gonna say our guy Jermaine Johnson, and then I just completely fumbled the name, so it ruined it. But yeah, between
get him out of there. Trade for him. Get him out.
Between JJ, Will McDonald, and obviously Quinnen Williams, I mean, they kind of have a little bit of a frightening front four. So it's definitely up to the Bills to, I mean, they could definitely use play action, utilize the run game to try to prevent that.
Yes.
Prevent that D-line from eating, that is. But I guess we can all go around and kind of give one key to the game next week. And I think the offense will be fine. Obviously, winning the turnover battle is critical in any game, and that ended up being the major difference in yesterday's game. So that'll be a bonus one. Win the turnover battle, because that was also the difference in the Jets game yesterday. They had one turnover all game, which was an Xavier Gibson fumble on a kickoff return, ended up leading to a Steelers touchdown. And that was the ultimate difference in that game. Just like the Derrick Henry fumble turned out to be the big difference in yesterday's Bills game. But I will say they got to do a better job. And Breece Hall is a very talented running back. I'm not taking anything away from him. He looked more like 2022 Breece Hall yesterday than he did whatever variation of Breece Hall there was last year. Now, the Jets have a very sneaky, underrated D-line too. So the Bills' offensive line, their O-line looked good yesterday against Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt. So the Bills got to do a better job of containing Justin Fields than they did Lamar Jackson last week. I expect the Jets to run heavy. Read option heavy, RPO. So it's going to be up to guys like Groot and Bosa to not let Justin Fields get outside the pocket and escape. The run defense also has to come to play, because yesterday's game, they definitely need to clean things up in the run defense. And I hope that's the big emphasis this week at practice between Sean McDermott, Bobby Babich, whoever is the one that's going over that needs to clean it up. But that's a huge point of emphasis for me this week. It's stop the Jets' ground game, because if you can stop the Jets' ground game, look, Justin Fields made some plays in the air yesterday. Garrett Wilson is a great receiver, but they also don't have any secondary options like the Ravens do, because the Ravens still have D-Hop. They still have Mark Andrews, who didn't really do anything yesterday, but also Rashad Bateman's a very quality number 2 in addition to Zay Flowers. But outside of Garrett Wilson, there's really no one on this Jets offense, maybe outside of Breece Hall out of the backfield, that really scares me as a passing weapon. So if you can contain the run, I think that's a huge key Sunday. And I think the Bills win by double digits as long as they can contain the run and stop the run. I'm interested in hearing what your guys' thoughts are on this game real quick. We don't have much time left just because the game's about to start.
Yeah, I think you saying that the Bills' run defense, is against the Jets' run offense is kind of important here, because it is, because the Jets ran for 182 yards and nearly 5 yards a pop on Sunday. So I think that's going to be important. Is Justin Fields Lamar Jackson? And no, he's not. I think so. That's why I think containing Justin Fields is going to be easier than containing Lamar Jackson. So I think there's one less element to this, to the game against the Jets that's going to be important. But I also feel like the play calling offensively has to just to be just a touch better. There was like 3-4 drives where you're like, okay, why are we running here? Why are we throwing a screen now?
Right. Quit the screen passes.
It's not working.
They never work. Yeah. Go back to that AFC Championship game. What do they try to do? Wide receiver screen. And it ended up going nowhere. So
they even tried to
take that from the playbook, throw it out, don't run it again. If you run a screen, run it to James Cook. He actually turned it into positive yards and almost into a house call. But do we have game picks or no?
Not tonight, but we could pick the Monday night game. Not tonight.
Yeah, we can. The game will be over by that point. So I guess we'll just skip game picks. But quickly, let's hear Connor's.
I will be quick with this one. So basically, because I watched the whole game and I saw exactly what the Jets were trying to do on both offense and defense. I think a lot of it offensively, their whole game plan, the Jets against the Steelers, was to keep Breece Hall away from TJ Watt, keep Justin Fields away from TJ Watt. And that's exactly what they did. They would constantly push up and to the right, or they watch TJ and then they push up and guard him so much that was how they got a lot of the ground game going, because they just stopped TJ Watt. They didn't really care about Alex Highsmith or Cam Hayward that much. And with their rookie Derek Harmon being out for God knows how long with an MCL sprain, all they had to do was just stop TJ Watt. And to be completely honest, they did. Not every time. They had moments where they just forgot about TJ Watt. He got in the backfield and just deleted either Breece Hall, Justin Fields, or Braylon Allen, whoever it was. So I don't think the Jets' game plan is going to be – I think it will be different, because obviously the Bills don't have a TJ Watt that they have to just focus on stopping. It's probably going to be more of a balanced game plan where they actually try to stop guys like Khalil Shakir, or they try to stop Keon Coleman. Because if you put all your eggs into trying to stop Josh Allen on the defensive side of the ball, it's not going to happen. So I think the big key concept is going to be just vary the playbook. Let James Cook literally just use the run game against them, drain the clock, and that's because I think that's how the Jets will probably be on defense. They'll probably just have more of a balanced game plan. And then the Jets on offense against the Steelers, or the Jets on defense against the Steelers, they were too busy looking at DK Metcalf to notice anybody else. And to the Steelers' own discredit, they couldn't get the run game going even with that happening. But even then, DK still had 86 yards in his Steelers debut. But then, we were saying it earlier, the Jets only really have Garrett Wilson in their offense. They don't really have they don't have an option 2. The Steelers had multiple options all day. They had DK Metcalf. If he wasn't open, it was either Pat Freiermuth or Jonnu Smith or Calvin Austin. So hitting them with everybody you got on offense, Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, get Dalton Kincaid involved again. That's going to be crucial. Definitely keep it simple, run the clock out, and then contain Justin Fields. You're not going to really stop a guy that's that electric. You just have to contain him, make him throw the football, use his arm against him, and then you will see success. So that was my last bit. That was all because the Steelers' game plan was a lot different against the Jets than the Bills' game plan needs to be.
Well, that will wrap things up for tonight. We got the Monday Night Football game going on. I guess we can each quickly pick a winner, even though this is going to air after the game ends. I got the Bears
I think
to win
so
this
too.
one. The Bears.
I wouldn't say that necessarily, but yeah.
JJ McCarthy, I think, is going to have a great game today. I
We'll
hope not.
see. I'm excited. Honestly, I'm excited to see. Oh yeah, I need him to go off because I have him in fantasy. So thanks for reminding me of that, Paul.
Yeah, well, see, I have DeAndre Swift. So
yeah, I still think the Bears ultimately win it, but I would like to see a great game. The Bears, their fans deserve an actual competent passing offense for like the first time ever, pretty much.
Yeah.
And the Vikings, they haven't really had a homegrown quarterback since when? Fran Tarkenton, if we're being honest.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Like, even some of their best quarterbacks ever, like, I mean, I'm not going to put Kirk Cousins up there, but guys like Randall Cunningham, I think even Dante Culpepper,
had some good games.
Did they draft him?
Yes, they did.
Okay, so I guess he was the last homegrown quarterback, but if you look at some of the other great Minnesota quarterbacks, like, they weren't guys that Minnesota drafted.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they did draft Culpepper. You're right. But outside of Culpepper, it's like he's like the last homegrown Vikings quarterback. Kirk Cousins, Brett Favre, all those guys who have had prolific seasons weren't original Vikings quarterbacks. So they kind of deserve some quality quarterback play as well. But we'll be back next week at the same time and same place.
Oh, yeah. Actually,
Go Bills.
There is one more little bit I was going to put up because you made me think of it, Ben. You know how you were talking about old quarterbacks having great games for once?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know Aaron Rodgers yesterday posted the highest passer rating for a Steelers quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger in Week 10 of 2018?
Surprising.
That's wild. Surprising. Aaron Rodgers might be back, but who knows? Anyway, that'll do it for tonight, though. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Oh, and go Knowles.